again to another Loving Well initiative. My name is Kim Million. I'm here with my friend Sarah Winkleman, and we are here with our mutual friend and our lovely pastor's wife, Glenda Bernhardt. So Glenda, welcome. We are really glad to have you here, and we're excited to talk about your life and how you have developed into a teacher and a woman and just an individual whom God has directed for how to love people. And that's really what this is all about. And we're all unique and we all have different skill sets and gifts. And so each one of these is so different. And so welcome. We're glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay. So, yes, super excited to have you, Glenda. And so you've been a teacher for how many years?
Oh, over 30. Depends when I count. Sometimes I come up with different numbers, but it's over 30. I know that for sure.
Over 30. And how many states have you taught in?
I've taught in 4 different states. I actually got my credential in Idaho when I graduated, but we moved immediately, and I never taught in Idaho until we came back 10 years ago. So the last 10 years technically they've been in Idaho, but they've been in California, Oregon, and Alaska. Other than that,
Oh wow,
you've come full circle. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, completely full circle. Yeah,
cool.
That's cool. So have you taught the same thing pretty much the whole time?
I've taught music of some type. I've taught like the elementary classroom music where they all come to you. I did that. I taught middle school and high school choir for probably most of my career. But in there, I was thrown in some 6th grade math and some drama. But that was just kind of by the side because I needed it. But it's always been music. I always spent time with kindergarten through 12th grade students for the most part. But most of the time was middle school and high school. Yeah.
That's fun.
So what was that last?
Oh, I said most of the time with middle school and high school students.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always loved my music teachers. They were always my favorite. So
mine too. That's kind of why I went into it, I think. Yeah.
I did band. I was a flute girl.
Oh, there you go. I played clarinet, so.
Oh, there we go. So you do voice, don't you? You do choir or?
Yes, I do choir. Right.
Okay. So as a teacher in choir, what are some stories on how do you love well with your students?
Well, I really feel like it's been just a great blessing that the Lord has given me to be able to do something I love and be able to reach students through that, which is really amazing. So many of them, they come from such a wide background and home situations. And so I think that, and a lot of times I spend more than 1 year with them. In fact, when I was teaching in California, most of my students I had for 7 years because they started in 6th grade and they kept through it, most of them through the senior in high school. So that really gave me a chance to know them, to know their families. I mean, during that time, a lot of things happened. I got to really know them and get their trust. And when you're doing something that's like an extracurricular, you're spending time outside of school, you're traveling on trips, you're creating together. It's a different environment, I think, for being able to minister and to just talk about things, especially as they get older. They would ask a lot of questions and there would be time to build that trust. And so I really feel like that was an awesome, it still is. But now I teach middle school, so I'll see them 6th grade through 8th grade, and then I keep kind of track of them as they go to high school. So I feel like the time to build and invest in their lives in that time, just from their little 12-year-olds till they're 18, has been just really wonderful. So they know someone who loves and respects them and accepts them for who they are, but also holds them to a standard of excellence that I think they can meet. So that's been just a real blessing, and I feel like music opens that door for me. That's what I use to open the door for that.
Cool. So do you feel like it's a ministry too? I mean, it's just a natural, organic thing because Jesus is in you and you're there, and Jesus is going with you. So
I really do. I really do think so. I mean, there are certain things that oh, you know, teach in public school, you must not be able to say or do this, but that's not necessarily true. You know, no, I don't stand and teach it as a Sunday school lesson, but I feel like I choose music as positive message, and also so many of them have sacred text when you're talking about more advanced things, and just that kind of thing, put an input in them. And another thing I was really thinking as I was thinking about this is, from the time I started teaching, is really I could mark like world and national events and crisis that I've gone through with my students, and how music was used in that way from the beginning, like the Gulf War in the 90s when I taught in Alaska. You know, we were all singing "I'm proud to be an American" and all that kind of thing, and it was only elementary kids, but they needed that. And then we went on to Columbine in '99. I was teaching in high school and middle school, and that changed everything. But out of that came the Michael W. Smith song, came Rachel Scott and Rachel's Challenge, which is the anti-bullying thing. We really did a lot of that in our school. We had all the different school shootings, unfortunately, so many of them. Sandy Hook, I remember my first graders sang Jump the Red-Nosed Reindeer, because for those kids who couldn't, because the shooting happened in December. And then just more recently in 18 was the Parkland shooting. And I remember we had a walkout, and it was scheduled. We planned it. It was going to be a national one anyway, but they planned a walkout, and they let balloons go with the names on them. And I'm telling you, 1,200 students. I thought, oh, they'll never walk out quietly. This is not going to happen. Totally did. And then we came back to their rooms, and I had 7th and 8th grade boys, and I'm still amazed at the discussions I was able to have with 7th and 8th grade boys about what that meant, what life meant, what it meant to be able to prevent it, why we think people acted the way they did. And then they wanted to end with a song. I mean, I was just in tears over the whole thing, because it was just really pretty amazing. And then we had many events where we had to sing because of tragedy within our community, our school communities. People died. It was car accidents, and they would always call on us to sing Amazing Grace or something like that. And then we went through the 9/11 terror attack. And with that, we're singing the Star Spangled Banner wherever we go. You're learning that, asking to sing that, sing at the first anniversary. In 2003, we went to New York with our advanced ensemble, went there. And that was so early on that I think the community helped them raise the money to go, because they felt like they were ambassadors. They were sending them, you know. And they saw Ground Zero, and then they saw also the church, which had been unharmed and was a refuge for first responders, and that had a really big impact on them. And it was interesting because the week we went in 2003 was when we invaded Iraq. And so there was a peace march, and there was a church we were going to perform at, Riverside Church, which was right next to Grant's Tomb on the Hudson River, very historic church. They changed our performance time because they had a prayer vigil, which I thought was just another like testimony and witness. And we were staying right down in Times Square, so I took some of my students to the Times Square Church, David Wilkerson's church there, from the Cross and the Switchblade and all that. And it was another mostly just prayer and comfort and healing. And I think many of them were from a completely unchurched background, and that just spoke a lot to them. And I was able to talk to them about what was going on. So it was just interesting to me as I looked back, how just the events of world events, we was able to kind of work into what we were doing in peace, and bring out the love of God in those times.
Well,
go ahead.
I'll go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think music teachers have, I mean, every teacher has an opportunity like that when world events happen, but you have a unique opportunity because there's healing in music. So I think that's really amazing. Was there any time where was one more difficult than the other? You know, like some of those times, depending on your class, or?
I think the probably the 9/11 for the older kids. They knew something big. It was very shaking of their world. We lived, military bases were near us. They knew the more of the significance of what it was. The world was being shaken, sort of, they kind of lived in this little bubble, teenagers are, of everything's gonna be fine. I think it really, that did probably more than the others for the older kids, because that really stood out. And for a lot of them, probably what they really remember are the more personal times when the student died. And many times I particularly remember the one girl who said, they want me to sing Amazing Grace. I don't know how it goes, So I was helping her with it, but also that I told them science and history and math is great, but when this time came and someone has, been killed, they don't say, please solve an equation for us. Please do a laboratory, lab, because that's not the place for that. Because right now, the solace, the comfort, the healing comes from music, and it really can't be explained. I remember one student one time who actually is a teacher now, but she was in sixth grade, and one time she said on a reflection sheet, can't really explain the feeling. She said, it was just wow. You know what I mean? So it's hard. And she has passed that on. She's a classroom teacher, but she teaches amazing music to her students for Christmas and for the end of the year. So she always sends it to me, which is kind of fun. So I know that those moments are, monumental in their lives.
I'm just in awe listening to you and just thinking how God is using you in healing. And it's so beautiful. And what a legacy that you've already had in going through these really difficult things. I mean, our country's going through really difficult things right now, right?
It is.
And music is healing. So thinking even of this week, what would you do musically? I'm just throwing that out at you. Sorry.
No, that's okay, because as I went on and thinking of the different events, it was then coronavirus hits, and you're suddenly thrown into this. And, part of me was like, I'm 4 years late for retirement. I don't want to do this. It's too hard, putting everything online, and then the uncertainty of what's going to happen. And you're I had the most amazing eighth grade group I've ever had, which when you teach at middle school, to have that, and they were wonderful and awesome in every way. You're like, didn't get to finish. But the Lord was telling me, but I need you to help them get through it, because I really feel like the emotional repercussions of this are big, and they don't know it. Because how many times have they walked out the door, left all their stuff in their locker, they're just returning, or it's just going to be a long spring break, and they're coming back to their friends and their routine, and they'll take that test when they come back, and we'll get ready for festival, and then it's gone. Just poof, graduation, promotion, dances, just track, fun things. And some of them act like I would have like little Google Meets with them, and they would act like, oh, it's fine, I don't have to go to school. But I know that their world just shifted like an earthquake. It was just like an earthquake. You don't see it coming, and boom. And so I think I'm really prayerfully asking the Lord, like, when it comes back, if we're like back in the classroom, like normal, which what I'm hoping is, what will they need from me? Not what will I need from them. Like sometimes it's easy for all of us to say, oh, they missed a whole quarter, they're so far behind. What are we going to do? But they know that. What do they need from us? Security, enthusiasm. And so it's kind of tricky, because every teacher's kind of going through their own emotional roller coaster with the thing. But I feel like they need us to walk in that door, and we'll say, how much we missed them, everything's going to be fine. Because a lot of them, they're coming from homes that are very unstable. School was their safe place. Poverty, abuse, and things I don't even know, that I probably could never imagine. And school is their place to be. So how do we get back to that place so it's a safe place again? And that I have really seriously been thinking about now, what songs, and I had the kids, like, one of their assignments online was to design what could our first fall concert program be like? What could we do? Make it fun, you know? So they're designing things saying, we're back, and things like that. So I thought, gotta make it be something, you know, exciting and fun, but yet meaningful. So the Lord will really have to kind of give me strength, creativity, which we all need for that, because I feel like it's going to be more than just, you know, at least with 9/11, it wasn't happening to them. It was rocking their world, but here it really happened to, you know, to them, and everything is different. So I do feel like that's a big challenge, and also something the Lord's saying, no, you got to stay in there. I need you a little bit longer. You can't get up yet.
It's such a loss. You know, I really feel for teachers, you know, because I just think, I mean, Eli's 17 and he's a junior, just finished up his junior year. And so, and even though he's pretty quiet about stuff like that, I could tell he was grieving, you know, the end of his junior year and not having those normal experiences, you know, the fun things at the end of the year. And so I just, my heart just was like aching for teachers and students, just because it's got to be. I was, what we remember Mount St. Helens, you know, in 1980, and I remember that was it for my school year. And I remember my friends who were seniors that year, but they were 5 years older than I was, but still that was a big deal. And they didn't get a graduation. I don't even know that they ever got a graduation. They got their diplomas in the mail.
I didn't realize that happened in Mount St. Helens in that.
Yeah, we had a lot of ash, and our ash was really, really fine. So it was just as, even though we were that much further away, the ash was really fine. It would, when we would sweep it, it would ripple like water. It was so weird looking, and so it was probably even more dangerous for us because it was so fine. It could really get into your lungs. So yeah, they canceled school, and that was it. And sorry, I remember that really vaguely, that feeling of disappointment, and man, I didn't even get to say goodbye to my friends.
Well, loss of routine, loss of structure, and a lot of them became a little, I call them AWOL online. I couldn't try to reach out to them, you know, just because they were overwhelmed and they just kind of gave up. So I feel like that's just another, you know, avenue, and that's what I feel like Lord has helped me in the past to think of things or activities or songs or something, words that can help. So I'm really being praying about that.
Yeah. So how I guess that's another question. How did you pray for those ones that you know that school was like their lifeline? School was their survival place, their safe place. How did that change your prayer life?
I prayed for them. I tried to remember them by name. I tried to remember in my room where they sat. Of course, I don't know all of them, but some by name that I knew was kind of precarious, or they'd sort of shared stuff with me. I would just pray for protection, you know, really just protection, and for God for them to hear His voice in whatever way, or you know, something that I would try to reach out to them. You know, a lot of them struggle with anxiety, and so this was super anxiety producing. And I would I emailed them just to say, I was thinking about you during this time. And that I would hear back from them that meant a lot. So I would just try to pray for them more specifically by name. Sometimes you just pray for your class in general, but I would really try to ask, Lord, who needs attention, you know, who needs some protection, because I don't know all of that. I can surmise some of it, but even those that look like they're just fine aren't. So just pray for specific protection for them, and for relief of the anxiety, and to have some kind of hope, that there would be hope.
It's beautiful. I was just thinking too, Glenda, because it's hard. This is all hard on everybody, right? And teachers have had to shift really fast, and you know, change is change. And so as a teacher, how do you manage that? How did you manage that? How did you manage the changes and be able to adjust yourself to be there for them?
Okay, change is like something I do not like. I don't like change. I mean, I like variety, but I don't really like change. So usually I kind of stomp and fuss and whine and complain for a few days, and then I start, Lord help me, formulate a plan. Okay, what would be most useful? What would be the most, I made a variety of things. So my students are at such different levels. So I thought, okay, what's some things I could touch base with different kids on, you know? And so I really just had to, and I had to step outside my comfort zone and find new applications. Luckily, they were offering lots of free ones, but really investigate. It made me just, and I think it'll be things I can use always now because I was forced to try new things. And some of them worked well and some of them didn't, but I tried something else. They forced me to come up with different things I can do in different situations, but also that there isn't just one or two ways to do something. There's a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And there are also some, there's a great Facebook group that I'm part of that's middle school choir directors. And that was awesome because they had some really good ideas here to try this, or we were kind of complaining about the fact that our really top students have kind of disappeared. And I thought it was only me. And they said, yeah, I don't know what happened to them. And then someone said, that's not what they're in choir for. They're in choir for the engagement and the being together and performing. And just, it's not the same thing to do a lesson online, which I realized that. But I was like, okay, all right. So I think it forced me to work more with a team, our team of people. So I think that is probably one thing that changed, not being afraid to try new things and to work with the team, the other middle school choir director, the high school. We kind of bounced ideas around. So that did help. But I do have to kind of whine and complain a little bit.
That's okay, right? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm being honest. I have to go, I can't do this. How am I supposed to do this? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, look at
yeah.
here. I mean, we were forced into doing this, and now it's just like, yeah, let's do another Zoom meeting. And it's crazy how, you know, when you're forced to do something, all of this creativity just takes off, and because you don't have another choice.
Right.
So
I knew people that watch it that wouldn't have a chance to otherwise.
Right.
Or it was interesting with lessons, the kids that maybe weren't so prominent in the performance classroom, they were able to shine in this because they were comfortable. They didn't like the face-to-face, but they liked this. So I thought, well, I can use that. That'll be something I can use when we are back face-to-face, alternative things. And then I thought too about parents like you and parents with multiple kids home, and Parker with school being, you know, everything just stopped, and some parents had so many students at home, and how do they manage that and work at home? So man, flexibility must be the name of the game right now for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. That's good. I was, one of the things that just stood out to me from what you said was how that group with the other choir directors, teachers, choir teachers, was important and helpful. And and I feel that way like about our church ladies and really just life in general when we're going it alone for various reasons that people do. It's harder. It's just harder.
It is.
Yeah. And so like when you had your moments of wanting to complain, did you complain to somebody to just
Yes, sometimes. My colleague is the band director there. He's awesome. We complain together and then we both come up with things together. He'll say, I'm going to do this. And I'll say, oh, I could do that, but I'll change it like this. So that we're good at that because we both know the others. We just kind of need to go, what am I going to do? We can't, but that part, I think, made it be more collaborative, which I think we all need to be more collaborative. So that's been really good. And I was somewhat computer literate, but I sure, knew a lot more about how to insert this and insert that and link up this. So that's really good for me as well. And just another avenue for reaching students, actually. I really think that I can probably continue that in some way, which is really good. But nothing will replace the face-to-face on the relationship, for sure. But it does help with understanding perseverance, kind of stuff, and for the kids too, perseverance and determination, and thinking positive, all that kind of stuff. Our principal was really positive through the whole thing. which made it much easier to work with and kind of encouraging. So I thought that was great.
That is great. And thinking on the mental health part,
Mhm.
I'm a counselor too.
Right.
It's good to going back to your getting it out. It's good. It's healthy to be able to just go, this is frustrating. I don't feel good right now. This is hard. And it's good to acknowledge it and not step it, not sit there, right? And then having someone else to be able to collaborate with, like you said, probably upped both of the creativity for both of you. Yeah, and support, and you're kind of journeying together, and that's helpful.
Oh,
so
definitely. Really, we had to work together, and we had our whole elective department met more often on Zoom type of things virtually, and everybody said, I think we spent more time talking to each other in the virtual meetings, and we met more often because we met once a week. In department meetings, we met like twice a quarter. You'd see each other in the hallway, and I'm in the music wing, and they're in the PE wing, or over here. I think it actually drew everybody a little closer together, actually, as a staff. So I think that. And we had a very sad thing happen. In this time, just 2 weeks ago, our orchestra director passed away. He had lung cancer, but no one expected him to go that fast. He was at the meeting on Monday, 2 Mondays ago, and he died Tuesday night. It was just, everybody was really shocked. He was an amazing man, an amazing influence students. And he was a believer too. We'd have several talks about that. So I was really happy to know that. And something I can share for him too sometimes. Yeah.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, it was really sad.
That's really sad. So if we switch gears a little bit, you help with worship at church too.
Yeah, I do.
Another completely different dynamic. So what about that has changed maybe your relationship with staff and worship people? And so what was that dynamic like filming everything?
Oh, I didn't do a whole lot of filming of it. I only did like 3 times. I did like 3. That's another thing. We had John and other people. So it was different, but we were so excited to see one another. That's what I noticed. And Andrew was there, like, we sat outside, and I think Sarah was there that one day, and we talked. We realized kind of how much maybe we take it for granted. Typically we had worship practice after choir.
Yeah.
So I would be at school a day and then do choir, and then I'd do worship team. And sometimes, I'm really tired. Probably wasn't appreciating the fact of what we had. I was just there playing, like, okay, I'm getting through this part. But it's totally different when you realize you didn't have that anymore. So when we practiced, just the songs, everything just seemed more meaningful in a way, because you realize what it means to not be together and worship together. So I think that Lord really showed me how important that is, and to value the time, because we take so many things for granted. And we probably have thought of a lot of things in this time, going on with things that we've missed. But it was very different to film it, because you didn't have the feedback when you would do it, as a lot of times when everybody's singing together, maybe even though you've done it 2 or 3 times in rehearsal, when everybody was singing those same praises to the Lord, you had that feeling. So I missed that, but the relationship to one another seemed more special, because it's been away for a long time. So I'm looking forward to Sunday when we can fight again. Yeah,
no,
me too.
Really looking forward to that. I think I learned the same thing, with the family dynamic, of how much we take for granted even just the time we spend together as a family. And
oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean, although I miss being there, I've really enjoyed the dynamic of sitting down together as a family and being together.
There was no stress, really. You could just enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when the donut shop was still open, Randy would go and get donuts and bring them home, and we'd have our coffee and donuts, and so that didn't change, which was fun. But it was a really different dynamic, and we were able to to talk a little bit afterwards. And I've kind of become a little bit more of a hermit, which probably isn't good. But
Now, I've appreciated time at home too. I mean, there was a rare, like maybe Saturday, I was ever just home all day. And
mhm,
so now being home all day, I go like, oh, do I really have to go out today? I just,
yeah.
get used to staying at home and
Mhm.
enjoying that. And like you say, the little bit slower pace, enjoying your family. And it's just, it, it's a blessing really in disguise, I think. So I think a lot of people are finding that. And I do think when I would talk to my students on through Google Meets and I'd ask them how you doing, what you've been doing. One boy's like, I run every day with my dad. We run every day. We're running 2 miles a day, and we do this. And the dad even shared with me. He said, yeah, we're loving the family time. So I'm hoping that will be a real positive thing that in our culture that family
Mhm.
becomes stronger. And it's fun to see people out riding their bikes together,
You know,
taking walks, running. You just used to be maybe one or two, but now you see so many. And I thought, wow, let's keep this up. Really.
yeah, that's one thing that I hope stays. I hope we don't get so busy again. I mean, there's a natural progression with everything, but I
Right.
would love it if we stayed close. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
good.
Balance. And
Balance.
yeah, balance. For me, I noticed that not having anywhere to go and needing to be home on the weekends and that I liked not driving because I
Yeah.
mean I drive all week
Yeah.
and but I just the weekend to not drive and be homebound was actually a gift and I didn't think about how not peaceful it was go running errands and whatever and how peaceful that really is. So there's a lot of good things, ladies.
There is. I agree.
Yeah. Glenda, what would you say to, I just have this thought. What would you say to parents? I mean, school's done now, but if you
Right.
had the chance to go back a few weeks and say something to parents maybe who were really struggling with this time with their kids. I mean, did you have anything like that where you had to encourage somebody to stick with it or?
I didn't so much because I think the younger students and parents had more work because they only had the 30 kids. I have
Okay.
275 kids. So the parent communication was really more with the classes they were not doing well in for middle school,
That makes
the
sense.
math teacher, the whatever.
Right.
But I, I think for a lot of them, and I've seen this, I know you ladies have seen it too, is if they're stressed, if at home, if they felt loved and accepted and they've grown in different ways, cooking, doing family sewing, doing some work, they're going to be well equipped. If you can keep them emotionally together, it's okay if they get behind. They academically, everybody does, and they can get right up. Just keep on reading. But I think that element where they feel the pressure of my fifth grader needs to be here, my second grader's got to do this packet, my eighth grader's not doing his English. That everything that the parent. I mean, I only had the one age. They have all of those.
Yeah.
And emotionally, I think it's like I was told some kids sometimes they say to me, do I have to do all of it? And I said, just do as much as you can on certain days. It doesn't matter. You don't have to do it all. Just do one or two things. And I think that's why parents, if I could keep them more emotionally stable and feel, remember some good times. I remember with the coronavirus, that's when I learned to knit, or I learned to golf with my dad, or we played hide and seek in the backyard. That is a lot better than just being, my mom was mad all the time because I wasn't getting my work done.
Yeah.
Because that's what we focus on instead of that they're not going to have the same structure. So I really do think the emotional aspect is much more important.
Yeah. Really, if you look at it that way, there's a gift. Yeah, we've been given a gift. Yeah, depending
I
on.
agree. It is. So what are we doing with it? Sometimes I've thought of how like time goes by and you feel like you really are treasuring it, and then you go through a part and you're like, it's really easy to let it slip by.
Yeah.
What am I doing with the time? And so I think that's really true.
It's good. Comes back to gratitude, and just I actually told a patient that today, who focuses on what she can't control and spins out of control. And I said, every morning, 5 things that you are grateful for, 5 things. And it really does change
Oh yeah,
how you
definitely.
It's so simple.
I know that I start my classes a lot of times with either what was the best thing about yesterday, I'll say. What are you looking forward to most today? And I won't let them raise a hand or call their name. Think of it, because I'm going to call you and you have to come up with it,
That's
and
good.
they'll go, well, I liked the dinner I had last night at home. I'm like, great, anything more than, well, school is over, that's the best thing I liked. But to think about what they are thankful for. And also in class, I call them compliments or appreciations. And they get used to doing that. And they'll say, oh, I have compliment for somebody. And they'll tell them, and it's so-and-so has been singing out really strong. They help me find my note, and it's not about, it's about what they've done or maybe as a friend, but they really enjoy doing that. And some kids will just brighten up when someone gives them a compliment. And I don't know, I saw a parent or something, and they said, yeah, so-and-so, and Thomas told me that he got a compliment in class from somebody. And I thought, oh my goodness, that meant so much to that person, because another person said something good about them. And I've talked to them about, it's so easy to say something negative. You say negative things about people, each other all the time. And sometimes you think about something positive, but you don't say it. You think, oh, they sang really well. Let's tell them. And it's really got to be just a really natural part of it. Sometimes I have to say, okay, just one more, because we have to move on. But I think it's developed a habit. So they're looking for ways to be able to encourage somebody. And I do think that hopefully that can become a lifelong skill and something they carry on to a different, part of their life as well.
Yeah, we need to do that as adults.
Yeah, exactly. I know. That's what I thought too. It's just, sometimes I do not practice what I preach as well. I do it in the classroom when I get out. I'm like, oh.
So I will compliment you right now, Glenda.
Okay.
So thank you on behalf of all of thousands of children in 4 states, right?
Yeah.
You have been a stable, loving person who promoted healing in their lives. And I hope that legacy does continue on from those kids to their own families, because it is beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you. That was very nice.
Well, the teachers who changed and influenced my life the most were my music teachers. And I don't know why.
I know.
I don't know why. Maybe it's because music speaks to the spirit, and when you go through things, you just have that bond. When I was at NNC, we were all there when it was still NNC.
Yeah.
My Western Years director, our dear friend drowned the night before graduation, and then we had to leave to go to Japan, and orient for 3 weeks, and it was brutal. But I will never forget just the closeness that we felt to one another during that time, our whole group, and we were forever bonded because of the grief that we shared, but the good times too. I mean, it wasn't just that. I did 2 musicals, and musicals are so much fun, and it shapes you in a way that you don't realize until later.
Definitely. That's really, really true.
So they will. I still remember in 7th grade.
Oh, I know. In fact, just last week, I had put on Facebook the thing that people were writing about for Teachers Appreciation, like how many years taught, how many states, how many buildings, all that kind of stuff. And then I said, and, the best students in the world, blah, blah. And so different people shared. But then I had one former student got on there, and I think she graduated 2009. She said, oh, thank you for being a great teacher and a great mentor.
Yeah.
And I said, Gabby, every time we sing something told the wild geese, and I've done it a lot of times, I think of you, because she was obsessed with the piano part on something. And this was like in 7th grade, and she would always play it. And she said, I still play that to this day. Thank you for that song. So it's just, you have that funny little thing that you remember about it, and they can remember. This really short poem, can I read it about why I teach music?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I? I'll be quick. Okay. So this was on the back of, it's appeared in a lot of different forms, but it was on when Courtney took, she was in band in Monterey High School, but I taught in Carmel. It was always on their programs about why they teach music. And so I always really liked it. So I've shortened it down a little bit, but it talks to exactly what Kim was talking about speaking to the spirit. So it says, why do I teach music? Music is science. Music is math. It's history. Music is foreign language. Music is also PE. Music is all of these things, but most of all, music is art. I teach music not because I expect you to major in music, not because I expect you to play or sing all of your life, not so you can relax and not so you can have fun, but I teach music so you will be human, so you will recognize beauty, so you will be sensitive, so you will draw closer to an infinite beyond this world. So you will have something to cling to in the hard time, something to cling to. That's what I like. So you'll have more love, more compassion, more gentleness, more goodness. In short, more life. Of what value would it be to make a prosperous living unless you know how to live? That is why I teach music. And I feel like the Lord created music. The Lord created all that stuff. And I am not a super gifted musician. I don't, aspire, but what I do have, he allows me to share that with students. And by that, I think they get a glimpse of him, and some of them go on, and I provide more opportunities for me to share about him. But I hope by doing that and by choosing music that does all those things, they kind of get a glimpse of that it is part of being human, part of what makes us all, that we all share that in common.
That's so beautiful.
I really love that poem. Yeah.
It's so true. And for people who are very, let's say, right-brained, music really does help you learn. I mean, it helps you so much to put things to music and rhythm, especially when you have to memorize something, putting it to a rhythm or to a tune, just so much. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
The math and the,
That's crazy.
the fractions, and I never took theory. That was a little bit much for me.
More math.
But well, Glenda, would you, before we leave, would you go ahead and just pray over your students and also?
Sure, I would love to.
Here we go. Okay, great.
Yes. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Thank you for Sarah and for Kim, and the creativity and the technology for us to be able to join this and together. I pray for educators in general, just throughout Treasure Valley and the world, but especially right here in our town and in our church, that had to stretch beyond their comfort level. And I know that we all miss our students. I pray that you would just help us to be able to use the time in the summer to rejuvenate and to just get creativity from you. I pray for our students, especially those who come from homes who are less than desirable, who are living in abusive situations, or something where it's very difficult. Lord, I pray that you would just protect and protect each one of them from evil, and that you would put your arms of love around them. They look up and see hope. I pray that you draw other people into their lives, bring them help and protection. And Lord, I pray with our leaders in the education department, all the schools, superintendents and boards, that you would give them all wisdom, as I know they're really maneuvering during a really difficult time and making decisions for what's best for students, staff, and parents and just our communities. I pray that you fill them with wisdom and with calm assurance, and that they would look to you for help. We thank you, Lord, for all you're doing, and thank you for this time that we can just stop and pause and be grateful for the things we have. In your name, amen.
Amen. Well, we just thank you, Glenda, and you represent all the other teachers that are doing great work. So we just really honor you. Yeah. Thank you.
It was fun to be with you guys tonight.
We love it. We get to do it every Friday. So
yeah, you get to meet all sorts of cool people, and we all get to that way. I love it.
It's fun. Well, thanks, Glenda. We appreciate
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right.